The flower cooler hummed in the corner of the sunroom, keeping 200 champagne roses at 38 degrees. Natalie was arranging the third centerpiece when she realized Daniel hadn't come back from the hardware store. He'd left at 9. It was now noon. The vintage door handles for the guest rooms were supposed to be in his truck. The grand opening was in 7 days. Natalie wiped her hands on her apron and called him. Voicemail. She called again. Same thing. She texted, "Where are you? Handles?" No reply. She went back to the roses. Daniel was like this sometimes. Distracted, caught up in some idea, forgetting his phone. She'd learned not to panic. She'd learned a lot of things in 2 years of being engaged to Daniel Foster. At 1 o'clock, she went inside to make lunch. The kitchen was half unpacked, boxes stacked by the pantry, the new espresso machine still in its crate. On the marble island, under a magnet, was a piece of notebook paper. Natalie didn't notice it at first. She was reaching for the bread when her elbow knocked it askew. She picked it up. Daniel's handwriting. The slanted, hurried scrawl he used for wine labels and love notes. But Natalie, I'm sorry. I can't do this right. Camille is back from board. She needs me. You have no idea what a first love does to a person. The B&B is yours. You always were better at it anyway. I'll send for my Natalie read it. Then a third time. Like the words might rearrange themselves into something less. The name she'd heard about 100 times. The college girlfriend. The one who'd left for a sommelier program in Bordeaux and never back. The one Daniel still got quiet about sometimes, swirling his wine like he was looking at something across a room she could. She set the note down on. She looked at the espresso machine in crate, at the boxes, at the 200 champagne roses and Daniel had heard them, had insisted on champagne roses for the opening, had said they were elegant, timeless. Natalie picked up. She called the travel agent and canceled the moon. 2 weeks in Tuscany, booked and the refund would go back to her card in 10 business days. Then she called the florist who'd supplied the roses and asked if they could take it. She stared at the cooler for then she grabbed her pruning shears and walked back in. She started cutting. Not for centerpieces, for compost, stem by stem. 100 of them, the petals falling like pink confetti into the green. Took an hour. Her hands were sticky and thorns at the end. Stop. When the last hit the bin, she opened her laptop and typed an email to her supplier list. Urgent. White peonies. 150 stems. Delay. We'll pay premium white peonies, her favorite. Daniel remembered that. He'd ordered champagne roses because they were his favorite. The door were. Natalie assumed nutrition. She'd do that morning. She opened the front door, sang her apron. Still smelling nutrition. Elias parked on the porch, holding a cardboard flat of flower, eucalyptus, lisianthus, a few early peonies, their petals tight as fists. He was wearing mud-caked boots and a faded flannel, his dark hair pulled back in a knot on. Got your email, he said. Peony really in season yet, but I've got some greenhouse. These are the best short notice. Lee stared at him. Park. The organic flower farmer up valley, the one who'd been supplying her small floral studio in San Francisco for 5 years. The one who'd at 5 a.m., because he said the flowers lasted longer if they were cut before the sun came up. Who'd never once been late. You drove 2 hours for an email I sent him, she said. Your opening week, he said. That explained everything. He held out the flat. These are on the house, and I can bring more, whatever you need. Every day if you want. Natalie took the flowers. Her hands were shaking. Hoped he didn't notice. Dan left, she said. She didn't know why she said it. Maybe because Elias was the first person she'd seen since the note. Maybe because he was looking at her like he already knew. Elias's jaw tightened. Just slightly. I heard, he said. The hardware store guy called me. Said Daniel bought a one-way ticket at the airport kiosk. Figured you might need a hand. Natalie laughed. Came out sharp and a little broken. Of course the guy knows before I do. Elias didn't say anything. He just walked past her into the sunroom, set the flowers on the table, pruning shears. He examined, tested the tension, and started trimming the eucalyptus stems, the way she liked them, at a 45-degree angle, leaves below the waterline. You don't have said. I know. He didn't look up. But your opening's in a week. And you've got 200 roses in your arrangements. Natalie watched him work. His hands were calloused and sure, moving through the stems with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. She thought about Daniel, once trimmed his life, who'd said, that's what we pay people for. Asked him to help with the studio. Elias, she said. Yeah? Can you stay? For the week? I'll pay you. Whatever you want. He looked up. His eyes were dark and steady. You don't have to. I'll stay. Outside, the Napa Valley sun was to dip behind the Mayakamas mountains, painting the vineyards gold. Somewhere a wine bottle was being opened. Somewhere a man was on a plane, chasing a ghost. And in a sunroom full of half-finished arrangement, one flat of 2 early peonies, Natalie Chen picked up a second pair of shears beside the man who'd She didn't cry. She didn't call Daniel. She didn't reread the note. She just cut the next stem. Opening day was a Tuesday, and it rained. Not the soft Napa drizzle Natalie had imagined in her Pinterest boards. A real downpour. Horizontal, turning the gravel driveway into a mud puddle and the string lights into a hazard. The caterer called at 6 to say her van was stuck on a flooded road. The photographer texted that she'd be late. And the vintage door handles Daniel was supposed to install, still in a box by the front door. Natalie stood in the kitchen at 6:30 a.m., drinking cold coffee, and thought, I can't do this. Then the back door opened. Elias came in, soaked to the bone, carrying 2 flats of peonies under a tarp like they were newborns. Road's a mess, he said, setting them down. But these opened overnight. You should see them. He unwrapped the tarp. The peonies were perfect. Full, white, the size of grapefruits, their petals still holding raindrops. Natalie had never seen anything more beautiful. Where did you? Greenhouse, Elias said. I've been forcing them since March. Knew you'd want them for the opening. He grabbed a towel from the counter and wiped his face. Caterer stuff. I'll call my cousin. She runs a taco truck in St. Helena. She can be here in 40 minutes. Natalie stared at him. You have a cousin with a taco truck? I have a cousin for most emergencies, he said, already died. By 7:30, the taco truck was parked by the vineyard. The peonies were in every vase, and Elias was installing the door handles with a drill he'd pulled from his truck. Natalie arranged flowers and tried not to think about the fact that the man she'd been engaged to for 2 years had never once held a... While the flower farmer she'd known for 5 was putting her business back together in a rainstorm. The first guests arrived at 11. By noon, the place was wine country locals, travel bloggers, a few friends from San Francisco. They ate tacos, drank sparkling wine, wandered through the peony-filled and took photos in the rain under the string lights that Elias had somehow managed to keep. A blogger from a design magazine pulled Natalie. This is incredible. The peonies alone, where do you see them? Natalie looked across him. Elias was talking to an older woman about soil, his hands gesturing, his face animated. He'd changed into a journal. He looked like he... From a farm valley, Natalie said. Elias Park, he's partner. She didn't... Night. After the last guest left and the taco truck pulled away, Natalie and Elias sat on the back porch drinking beer and the peonies in the vases glowed. Your cousin's taco hit. She's good, tell her. Elias took a sip of beer. So, weeks up. Tomorrow. Natalie felt something drop her chest. She hadn't realized she'd been counting the week. But Elias said, I was thinking, your floral program, the arrangements, the workshop space, the wedding packages you mentioned, you're going to need a steady supplier. Someone who can do these in May, dahlias in August, ranunculus in March, someone local, Anik. He paused. My farm the capacity. I could expand. If you're interested, Natalie looked at him. The rain flowed to a mist. The vineyards were dark shapes line. Are you asking to be my supplier? She said. I'm to be your partner, Elias said. Yours in design. You do the vision, I grow the product. We split the floral revenue, and I get to keep installing doors when it rains. Natalie laughed. It was the first real laugh she'd had since the note. At door handles. Is that a yes? That's a yes. They shook on it. His hand was warm and calloused and bigger than hers. She tried not to notice the way her pulse jumped when he was too long. Her foot trail. She picked it up. A text in international. Daniel. Opening day went well? Saw some photos on Instagram. The peonies are a nice touch. Always did like flowers. Natalie stared at it. Always did flowers. As a spectator. Like he hadn't left 7 days ago with a one-way ticket note about first love. She typed a reply. It went. Daniel, knew you could do it. Listen, Camille and I are talking maybe coming back next week. We could grab dinner. You and me, talk about the house, the business. Still care about you, Nat. Natalie read it twice. I still care about you. We could grab dinner. Old friends catching up. Like she was supposed to be flattered that he'd make time for her and his old one. He set the phone down. She didn't reply. Elias glanced at this. Everything okay? Daniel, Natalie said. Wants to have dinner when he gets back. His jaw did that thing again. The slight tightening the day he showed up. "Do you want to go?" "No," Nad. And it was true. The idea of sitting across from Daniel, of listening to him talk about Camille and Bordeaux and how he'd mistake or found him, it made her tired. "About anything." "Don't," Elias said. He stood up, grabbed and headed for the kitchen. "You don't owe him a dinner. You don't owe reply. You don't owe him anything." Natalie watched him walk inside. She thought about Daniel's "I still care about you," and how it had felt less and more like ownership. Like he was checking on a pride left in someone else's hand. She picked up her phone. She opened Daniel's She typed, "Natalie." And she hit send. Then she blocked the number. Inside, was washing the beer bottles at the sink. The kitchen light was warm on his shoulders. Nat stood in the doorway and watched for a second. The way he moved, efficient and unhurried. The way he hummed and he thought no one was listening. "Hey," said. He turned. "Yeah?" "For today. For everything." Elias wiped his on a towel. "Do." He said it simply. Like it was obvious. The world. Natalie went to bed that night in the guest room she'd claimed as her own. Dan's master suite was still full of his, still smelled like his cologne, and she couldn't bring herself to sleep there. She lay in the dark and listened to the rain on the roof and thought about peonies and door handles thrown up with flowers in a storm. Somewhere across the Atlantic, Daniel Foster was drinking Bordeaux, who'd left him once and would leave him again. Anne was exactly where she was supposed to. She didn't dream about Paris. Dreamed about a greenhouse full of white peonies, and someone was cutting them for her at 4 a.m. before the sun came up. By September, the bed and breakfast was booked solid through Thanksgiving. The design magazine feature had gone viral, the Napa B&B with peonies in every room, and suddenly, Natalie was running floral workshops every weekend, hosting wedding consultations and turning away reservations 3 months out. Elias's greenhouse had tripled in size. His cousin's taco truck was now the official caterer for all private events. Natalie hadn't spoken to Daniel in 4 months. She'd thought about him less and less. At first it was conscious. Don't check his Instagram. Don't drive past his family's winery. Don't wonder if he and Camille were happy. Then it became unconscious. She'd go days without his name crossing her mind. And when it did, it felt like remembering a song she used to like. Familiar, but not something she wanted to hear again. Elias was there every day. Not in a hovering way. In a way that felt like gravity. Constant, unremarkable, holding everything in place. He delivered flowers at 5 a.m. He fixed the leaky faucet in room 3. He sat with Natalie on the back porch after long days and talked about soil pH and bloom times and the way the light hit the vineyards. At 6 p.m, one night in late September, after a wedding that had gone until midnight, they were sitting on the porch sharing a bottle of wine. The vineyards were dark. The air smelled like grapes and dust, and somewhere a cricket was doing its best. "You've got something in your..." Elias. Natalie reached up. He leaned over and plucked a peony petal from behind her. His fingers brushed her. Neither of them moved. He was close enough that she could see the faint scar on his... He'd told her. A farming accident when he was... Close enough that she could smell the soil and cedar on his flannel. Close enough that if she tilted her head, their mouth... Elias. He set the petal on. "Long day tomorrow." Up. He was halfway to his truck when Ned... "Yes." He stopped. "Don't go." Her voice was quieter than ended. "I mean, you don't have to go." "Ew." He looked at her for a long time. The porch light was behind him, so she couldn't see his face. Back. Down. He did anything. He jammed. They sat like for a while, holding hands, not talking. Natalie thought Daniel, who'd never held her hand on a porch, who'd been too busy eating his phone, too networking, too busy looking better. "Elias," she said, "ask you something?" "Anything." "Why now? You've known me for 5 years. You could have, I don't know, said something before." Elias quiet for a minute. "Because you were with," he said. "And I wasn't to be that guy, the one who circles waiting for someone to fail. I wanted you to choose because you wanted me, because you were lonely." He paused, squeezed her hand, and honestly, I was scared. "You're," gestured vaguely. "You're Natalie Chen. You design make people cry. I grow flowers. I didn't think I was..." "You grow the that make people cry," Natalie said. "Without you, there's no..." He smiled. The small smile. The kind that didn't show teeth but crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Is that a compliment?" "It's a fact." He sat in silence again. Nat was warm in his. Her heart was doing something done in years. Not the anxious she'd felt with Daniel. The constant way to drop. Something steadier. I'm not ready to say I love you, Natalie said. I don't want to rush this. I don't want to be that person who jumps from one relationship to the next. I know, Elias said. We go at your pace. I've waited 5 years. I can wait 5 more. Natalie leaned her head on his shoulder. He put his arm around her. The cricket kept chirping. The wine was getting warm. Of them moved. Daniel, Tuesday in October. Natalie was in the sunroom. A front door opened. She assumed it was a guest. She called out, "Be right here," and kept working. Then she heard a voice. Natalie? She froze. The dahlia stem in her hand snapped. She walked into the foyer. Daniel was standing, thinner than she remembered, wearing a linen shirt and a leather jacket, her monthly mortgage. He was holding a bottle of wine. Bordeaux, of course, he said. Her voice was flat. I know you not to contact you, he said. I'm back. Neil and I didn't work out. She left, took the partnership deal with her. I lost the winery and everything. Held up the wine. I brought this. Can we talk? Just minutes. Natalie looked at the wine, at his face, tired eyes, the hopeful set of his mouth, thought about the note on the kitchen island. About the 200 roses in the compost bin. About the day. No, she said. Daniel blinked. What? No, I don't want to talk. I don't want your wine. I don't want to hear about Camille is you think I owe you. She stepped toward the door. You left. You chose her. And I moved on. This is my home now. My business, my life. And you're not in it. Daniel's face. Natalie, come on. I made a mistake. I know that. But we have history. 2 years. You can't. I didn't just anything, Natalie said. You left a note. You didn't even have the decency to say it to my face. So no. We don't get to talk about it. You don't bottle of wine and expect to. The back door opened. Elias walked in carrying a flat of dahlias. He saw Daniel. Saw Natalie's face. He sat quietly and walked over to stand beside her. Not touching. Is there a problem? Elias said. It was low and calm. Daniel looked at him. Recognition flickered. The flower guy, Elias said. Natalie's partner. Daniel's eyes went from Elias to Lee and back. Partner? He laughed. It was a sharp, ugly sound. Of course you ended up with the help. Natalie felt Elias stiffen beside her. He reached over and said, Get out. Now. Call the police. Daniel stared at her. For a second she thought he'd argue. Then he set the wine bottle on the table, carefully, worth something, and walked to the door. He paused on the porch. You'll regret this, said. He's not me, Natalie. He'll never be me. No, Natalie. He won't. She closed the door. He locked it. She leaned against eyes. Elias was beside her in a second. Hey, you... Natalie opened her eyes. She looked at him. The mud on his boots, fallen on his sleeve, the concern in his face. She thought about dirt and his Bordeaux and his... I'm okay, she said. And she kissed him. It wasn't gentle, tentative. Sure, it was the kind of said, I'm done waiting. I'm done being sensible. I choose this. Elias dropped the flower flat he was still holding and put both hands on her back like he'd been practicing for 5 years. When they pulled apart, Natalie was breathless. Elias was saying, the real one, the one with teeth, he said. Does this mean I'm not just your partner anymore? She picked up his hand and laced fingers together. It means you never were just my partner, she said. Not really. Elias proposed in the peony field. It was mid-May, almost a year to the day since Daniel had left the note. The peonies were in full bloom, row after row of white and blush and coral, the air thick with their sweet green smell. Natalie was down on her knees, deadheading a particularly stubborn stem, when Elias said, Hey. She looked up. He was standing there with mud on his jeans and a ring box in his hand, and he looked nervous, actually nervous, which Natalie had never seen. Elias was the calm one, the one who fixed things, the one who showed up with flowers in a rainstorm. I know we've only been together 7 months, he said, and I know people will say it's fast, and I know you just got out of... He stopped, took a breath, but I've been in love with you for 5 years. 7 months is just the part where you finally noticed. So, he got down on one knee in the mud. Natalie Chen, will you marry me? Natalie stared at him. The ring was simple, a thin gold band with a small diamond, nothing flashy. She thought about Daniel's ring, the 2-carat solitaire he'd proposed with at a winery dinner, surrounded by people she didn't know. She'd cried. She wasn't crying. She was smiling so hard her face... Yes, she said. Yes. He slipped the ring on her. It fit perfectly. Of course. Elias measured everything. Soil, pH, bloomed times, apparently her ring size. They sat in the peony field for a long time after, their backs against a fence post, holding. Natalie looked at the ring, at the rows of flowers, at Elias's mud-caked. Where do you want to do it? Elias thought it. Right here, in the field, when the peonies are at peak. Hey, you said once, 3 years I think, that you wanted to get married in a field of flowers. Natalie turned to look at him. You that? I remember everything you say, he said. It's kind of a problem, kissed him. The peonies sweat breeze. Somewhere a bee was. They called their pet night. Natalie cried. Elias said, took enough. Rosa, the office manager, screamed so loud Natalie had to hold the phone. Then Natalie stood in the kitchen of the breakfast, staring at her phone. She didn't knew that. But they'd been engaged 2 years. They'd shared a lease, a bank account, a life. And if he found out someone else, from Instagram, from a mutual friend, it would feel. Natalie didn't hide. Sure. He answered on the second. Natalie? His voice was surprised, a little hopeful. I didn't think you'd ever. I'm getting married, she said. No preamble, no small talk. May 28th. In Elias's peony field. I'm telling you because I don't want you to hear from someone else. Because I want you to know, this isn't about you. It's about me, and him. And a life I actually want. Silence. Then Daniel laughed. It was the laugh he used when he thought ridiculous. Come on, Matt, he said. You don't have to do this. I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. But marrying the flower guy? 2 weeks from now? That's not a wedding. That's a statement. It's a. Natalie said. It's a rebound. It's you trying to prove something. And I get it. I do. But you're going to wait once and realize. I realized Natalie said. The day I out on the kitchen island. I realized I'd been waiting for someone who was never going to show up. And then someone did show up, with flowers, in a rainstorm, and he's been every single day since. Daniel, then quieter. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this, he said. You'll be married by June. June 1st, actually. We're leaving for a few days. Mendes, he's never seen the coast. Another silence. Then Daniel's voice changed now, the charm gone. You'll regret it. He's not your level, Natalie. You'll see. When the novelty wears off. Goodbye, Daniel. She hung up. She blocked his number again. A new one after the last time. Set the phone down. Elias was holding 2 mugs of tea. He'd heard the. He didn't say anything. He just handed her a mug. Chamomile with honey, the way she liked it when she was and sat down beside her. He bound, Natalie said. Elias said. We know the truth. Natalie leaned her head on his shoulder. The kitchen was warm. The peonies in the vase on the table were opening, one petal at a time. Outside, the Napa Valley sun was setting over the vineyards, making everything gold. Elias? She said. Yeah? Thank you for showing up. In the rain? With the flower. She gestured vaguely. Fit. Elias kissed the top. Partners do, he said. Almost to himself. That's what husbands do. Natalie smiled into his shoulder. She thought about Daniel's note, about the 200 roses in the about the rain on opening day. She thought about a man who'd left a note, a man who'd shown up with a toss. She hadn't rebounded. She'd finally looked up, and who'd been standing there the whole time. The wedding was in 2 weeks. The peonies would be at their peak. And for the first time in life, Natalie Chen was not waiting for anything. She was exactly where she wanted to be. The peony field was a sea of white and blush on May 28th. 200 stems, all in full bloom, their petals heavy with morning dew. Elias had strung fairy lights between the fence posts, unnecessary in the daylight, but he'd said, for when the sun goes down. Rosa had arranged the chairs in a semicircle facing the vineyards. Natalie's mother was crying already, dabbing her eyes with a napkin that said, Bride's Mom, in glittery letters. Natalie stood at the edge of the field in a simple white dress, knee-length linen, nothing fancy. She'd bought it at a boutique in St. Helena for $189. Her bouquet was white peonies, of course, cut that morning by Elias's own hands. Are you ready? Rosa said, appearing beside her with a clipboard and a look of controlled panic. Natalie looked out at the field. Elias was standing at the end of the aisle. If you could call a path through peonies and aisle, wearing a dark gray suit and mud-caked boots he'd refused to change. He was talking to his father, gesturing at something in the dirt, and then he looked up and saw her. He stopped talking. His mouth fell open slightly. Then he smiled. The real one. The one with teeth. The one Natalie had only started seeing 7 months ago. Yeah, Natalie said. I'm ready. The music started. a string quartet Elias had hired because Natalie mentioned once, years ago, that she'd always wanted one. She walked down the aisle between rows of peonies, and every step felt like leaving something behind. The note, the roses, the rain, the waiting. She reached Elias. He took her hand. His were calloused and warm and slightly dirty, and she loved the officiant, a friend from architecture school who'd gotten ordained online, began the ceremony. Natalie tried to listen. She really, but she was too busy looking at Elias's face, at the way the light hit his jaw, at the tiny peony petal stuck in his hair. And no, the officiant said, "If anyone here has reason, these two should not be married." A voice from the back of the Natalie closed her eyes. She knew that. She'd known it for 2 years. She'd waited for it at an air, replayed it on voice, deleted it from her phone more times than she could. Daniel was walking down, if you could call barging through a peony field. He was wearing the linen shirt and leather jacket again, holding a bottle of Bordeaux in. His hair was longer than she heard. He looked. "Natalie," he said. "Stop, please." The guest went. The string quartet trailed oddly. Natalie's mother made a small, horrified sound. Elias stepped. Not aggressively, just in front of Natalie, his body. "You need to leave." "I'm not to you," Daniel said. He didn't even look. "Natalie, please. I know I messed up. Oh, I left. This," he gestured at the field, at Elias. "A mistake. You're making a mistake. Love him. You love the idea of him, the stability, the words, But that's not love, Nat." Natalie stepped out from Elias. Daniel really looked at him, the tired eyes, the too tight leather jacket, the wind-up. She said, steady. "I'm settling? I think you're angry," Daniel said. "And I think you're using it back at me. And I get it, I do. But this isn't the answer. We have history. 2 years, a life. You can't throw that away, farmer." Hung in the air. Farmer. Said like it was an insult. Like Elias was less than. Like growing the flowers that made Nat's business possible. Natalie felt Elias guide her. She took his hand. "His name is Elias," she said. "Elias, and he's not a farmer. He's a horticulturist. He runs a certified organic flower farm that supplies 12 businesses in this valley. He designed the greenhouse that grew every peony in this field. He fixed the leaky faucet in room 3 at 2 a.m. because I had a wedding consultation the next day. He remembers that I like chamomile tea with honey when I'm stressed. He remembers that my mother is allergic to cats. He remembers that I said 3 years ago that I wanted to get a field of flowers." She paused. The peonies swayed that had picked up. "You don't remember any of that," she said. "You don't even remember the champagne roses. You ordered 200 of them for our opening's favorite." His face was changing, the charm slipping, the hope getting uglier. "That's not fair. It's complete," Natalie said. "I left a note on my kitchen island. You didn't even have the decency to say it to my face. You chose, and then when she left you came here expecting me eating. Like I was a reservation you could kill and rebook whenever you want." She stepped closer. Daniel flinched. "I'm not a reservation," she said. "I'm not your backup. I'm not the sensible option you come back when the exciting one work out. I chose him. I chose him because he shows up. Because he listens. Because him. He was there. With flowers and a rain at 4 a.m. And I would choose him again. Every single time." Daniel stared at her. The bottle was shaking in his hand. He set it down on a nearby fence post. It was still worth something. "You'll regret this," he said. Voice was small now. Defeat. "No," he said. "I won't." Elias's father and 2 had appeared at the edge of the field. They didn't do anything. They just stood there, big and quiet and unmistakably present. Dan looked at them. Looked at Natalie. Looked at then he turned and walked away. Through the peonies, past the chairs, on the dirt road to where his was parked. He didn't look back. The field was silent for a long moment. He turned to the officiant and smiled. "Sorry about that," she said. "Where were we?" The officiant laughed, a nervous, relieved sound. "I believe we were at the vows." Natalie looked at Elias. He was looking among the moon and all the stars. "Elias," he said, "I don't need vows. I just need you to know. I see you. All of you. The boots, the pollen on your sleeves, the way you hum off key when you think no one's listening. And I choose you, tomorrow, every day after that." Elias, he squeezed her hands. "I've been practicing this for 5 years, and now I can't remember a single word. So I'll just say this, grow you flowers for the rest of my life. In every season, in every weather, I will never ever leave it on your kitchen island." Someone laughed. One cried. The official, by the power vested in me. And Natalie listening, because Elias was with her. And the peonies were blooming, and the sun had come out from behind a cloud exactly as it should be. At the edge of the field, Bordeaux sat on the fence post, opened. Nobody bothered to bring it inside. A year later, Natalie stood in the middle of the peony field and watched Elias teach a workshop on flower arranging. There were 12 women seated at wooden tables under a canopy of string lights, each with a bucket of blooms in front of them. Peonies, ranunculus, eucalyptus, the last of the spring tulips. Elias was demonstrating how to strip leaves below the waterline, his hands moving sure and steady, and the women were watching him like he was performing magic. Natalie leaned against the fence post and smiled. The bed and breakfast was booked through October. The floral workshop series had a waiting list. Elias's farm was supplying 3 restaurants and 2 hotels, in addition to the B&B. They'd just broken ground on a small event space, a glass pavilion at the edge of the field, for weddings and private dinners. Life was full, and it was hers. She thought about the note sometimes. Not often, maybe once a month, when she was folding laundry or watering the greenhouse and her mind wandered. The scrawled handwriting. You have no idea what a first love does to a person. She'd wondered, for a while, what that felt like, to be someone's first love, to be the one they couldn't forget. But then she'd look at Elias, covered in dirt, talking to a guest about soil composition like it was the most interesting subject in the world, and she'd think, I don't want to be a first love, I want to be the last one. Daniel had left the valley in August. Natalie heard about it from Rhoda, who'd heard it from the wine distributor, who'd heard it from someone at the golf. He'd sold his remaining share in the family winery, what was left after Camille took the partnership, and moved to Port. He was working for a wine import company. Nobody knew if he was seeing it. Natalie didn't. Not in a cool way. Just, his name didn't sting more. It didn't even register as a feeling. It was just a name, like a street she used to live on, a song she used to listen to. Familiar, but not part of present. In November, she'd seen his car at the grocery store in St. She'd been loading peonies into the back of Elias. Late seasons, forced in the greenhouse for Thanksgiving, and a silver Audi had pulled into the spot. Daniel had out. He'd looked thinner, the leather jacket gone, replaced by a fleece vest that looked like something his father seen her. He'd opened his mouth like he was going to something. Natalie smiled, a polite, distant smile, the kind you give her, and gotten. She'd driven away without looking back. Elias had asked, Okay? Everything's perfect, said. That evening after workshop, after the last guest had left and the tables were stacked and the was quiet, Natalie and Elias sat on the back porch of the house, the small cottage on his property that they'd moved into. It was smaller than the B&B, cozier, with a wood stove and a kitchen window that looked out at the bows. Elias was grilling vegetables. Natalie was drinking a glass of wine, Bordeaux, a local Pinot Noir from a vineyard. The sun was setting behind the commas, painting the sky in orange, and the peonies glowed. Hey, Elias said, fling a zucchini. For opening day? The rain? The taco truck? They laughed. How could I forget? You showed up with peonies under a tarp, horns. I was terrified, Elias said. Send me away. That you'd say you didn't need help, that yourself. I almost did, Natalie admitted. Said I was fine. I always do. Pretend. You didn't. Fine. Because you were there, and you didn't make me ask. You just showed up. Elias set down the tongs. He came over to the porch rail inside her. He didn't say anything. He just put his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him, and they watched the sunbirds. Elias, Natalie said. Yeah? Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Daniel hadn't left? We'd opened the B&B together? She stopped. Never mind. No, say it. Natalie was quiet for a minute. The crickets had started. The air smelled like grilled veggies and dirt. I was going to say, if I'd never met you, but that's not right. I did meet you 5 years ago. You were delivering flowers to my studio in Francisco at 5 a.m., and I thought, who gets up at 4 in the morning to cut flowers? Elias laughed. I do. For the record, I know you do. She turned to face him. I'm trying to say is, thought I lost everything that day. The B&B, the engagement, the future I'd planned, but I didn't lose anything. I just let go of the wrong things, and in letting go, I made space for the right ones. Elias kissed her. It was gentle and sure, and not like the kisses she'd had before, the ones that felt like a performance, was checking a box. This one felt like home, like soil and sun, 5 a.m. flower deliveries, and a man who'd shown up in a tarp full of peonies. When they pulled, stars were coming out. The peony field was dark, just shapes in the night, but Natalie knew they were there. Row after row, sleeping in sun. Note on the kitchen island. About the 200 champagne roses in the compost bin. About the rain in the taco truck. And the door handles that never got installed until Elias showed up with a drill. She thought about a man who'd left a note and a man who'd shown up with flowers and shot. I didn't miss a thing. The wine was getting warm. Elias went back to the grill. Natalie sat on the porch rail and watched the star of the valley she'd made her home. Somewhere a wine bottle was being opened. Somewhere, a man alone in a city, no. But here, this place, with this man, in this field of flowers that would bloom spring and the spring after that, Natalie checked exactly where she was supposed to be. She wasn't waiting for anything. She wasn't missing anyone. She was home, and the peonies were blooming.